Welcome back, everybody. Isn't it crazy to see just how far we've come? From the humble beginnings of a promising prototype, then to the halfway stage where the spark of something special could just barely be seen, and now to the sick and spectacular game we have with us today. And finally, the launch of the Steam store page. If you're out of the loop, link is in the description below, go check it out. A big thank you to everyone who wishlisted the game and who's been following along from the beginning. I've been reading all of your comments and really appreciate the support. The launch of the Steam store page was a huge success. In just the first 2 days of being on Steam, we had already reached 1,000 wish lists, which, to put that into perspective, even a good looking indie game will typically take about 2 to 4 weeks to get to their first 1,000 wish lists. We did that in 2 days. And now, after about a week and a half of being on the Steam store page, we have climbed up to 1,900 wish lists. On top of that, I had 3 or 4 publishers reach out expressing interest. I probably don't want to work with one because I'm confident that I can make the game succeed on my own. But nonetheless, it's nice to see all the interest in the game. It's reassuring to know that I'll have at least a decent chance of making my money back, because in about a year from now, when the game finally comes out, I'm gonna be pretty much broke. A couple quick shoutouts before I get into what's next for the project. First of all, a big welcome to the team to Mr. David Cook, who is going to be playing the role of Jones. That was his voice that you were hearing in the trailer.
Whatever you do, just be sure it's 'cause you wanna do it.
And a thank you to the other 50 or so people who auditioned for the role. Ultimately, it came down to a close call between David and a fellow by the name of Jay, aka the Mahogany Voice.
The Mahogany Voice, auditioning for the role of Jones. Listen, my man, let me give you one piece of advice. Getting you here doesn't help people unless it helps him.
One thing that I found kind of amusing is there were a few auditions by guys that were not black. I think like one guy was Korean, another guy was Spanish, and I have to say, if you listened closely, you could hear the accent wasn't really quite there. But nonetheless, it was pretty impressive, and I have to tip my hat to those guys for giving it a shot, because why not, right? There are going to be more roles to audition for towards the end of development, a few more males as well as female roles, and one of the male roles is actually Jones's younger brother. So if you audition for the role of Jones, there may yet be another opportunity for a voice in that range, so stay tuned. And the second shout out is to a website called nevermoreniche.com, who recently dropped an unexpected review of my first game, The Life of a Magical Circle, which I released more than a year ago. I'm mentioning this because when that game first came out, I got a handful of reviews and I was overall happy with them. He said that he felt that my game was only worth being purchased on sale for 99 cents.
99 cents? Do you think my fucking game is worth 99 cents, you motherfucker? Say that to my face now. Say that to me. Oh, you think my game's worth 99 cents? Oh, how about this?
You think my game's worth 99 cents?
How about I stab you for every cent that you think it's worth? Like this. 1, 2, 3, 27, 28, 29, 1, 52, 50, 54, 55, 73, 70. Please. Don't, please, man, please. I know it's worth about 99 cents. I'm just a cynical ass.
But I felt like most of them either misunderstood the game to some degree, or they did understand it, but they didn't notice certain elements of how much detail I put into the meaning and connections between certain things. Anyway, this was the first review that I've read that seemed to have understood pretty much everything about the game and what it was that I was trying to do with it. And then on top of that, they even went into their own analysis of the meaning behind it, which I found to be possibly even a more insightful and accurate understanding of the game than the one that I had in mind when I was developing it and thinking about what it was that I was trying to express with it. So that was a pleasant surprise. I linked the review in the description below if you're curious. Spoiler warning, it does talk about the mechanics in the game, which you're supposed to actually figure out on your own. So if you want to try the game out for yourself first, the link to that is also in the description below, and it's free, so why not, right? So with the store page launched, as Tupac once said,
But life goes on.
and I am back on the grind to get the demo for Six Samurai done. I expect I'll be dropping it sometime in January or February. I know this is longer than I was hoping for, but when this thing drops, I want it to blow minds. I want it to feel like you're playing a finished, polished version of the game, and so although the content is done, there are a lot of details to work on. I want to make sure it's optimized, that you've got settings like key rebindings, gamepad support. I still got to stitch the levels together with cool transitions, transitions and the narrative scenes, got to make a few more musical tracks, record the voiceovers, and so on. And I expect this will all take about 2 or 3 months. On top of that, I'm going to want to do a little private play testing before I make the demo public, so keep an ear out for that, as I may select a few people from the community here to help out if interested when the time comes. Since I'm going to be working on all these specific details for the demo, I'm probably not going to have too much new stuff to show on my end for the next couple months, partly because I've already shown you guys so much and I want to keep at least some of it a surprise for the demo when you play for the first time. But on the bright side, because the content is finished, my artists are moving ahead and already at work on stuff that goes beyond what's going to be in the demo. And speaking of which, I've got 2 new major characters to introduce you to. First on the list is Dahlia, the first lady of the roster. Much like Jones, Dahlia grew up an orphan surviving on the streets of the island. As a woman in an underworld largely dominated by men, she learned to carry a ferocious attitude and developed a reputation for unpredictability and, to put it crudely, craziness. Instead of joining a gang, she mostly worked alone and made her living blackmailing the rich, criminal or otherwise. Those who cross her will learn of her expertise in poisons and explosives. If she teams up with somebody else, it's almost always Jones, perhaps the only man in the underworld that she gets along with. We're grateful to have Dahlia on the team, as it was becoming a bit of a sausage fest. And speaking of sausages, that brings us to our next major character. Samurai Gomen. Gomen is the first of the 4 samurai bosses you will be challenging. Delusional about his superiority over others and incapable of admitting to a single flaw within himself, he carries himself with an unearned arrogance, but he is surprisingly kind, generous and charismatic, so long as you aren't the target of his insults, mockery, and lecturing. He represses any show of genuine emotion, alternating between apathy and a fake cheerfulness. When challenged, he maintains an unsettling, silent calmness, but if pushed too far, he explodes with rage. And don't be fooled by his size. He moves much faster than you'd expect. I wanted to include a level select option in the demo, so I was thinking about what would be the most stylistically appropriate way of doing that, and ultimately decided on a map. So I've got a rough work in progress of the map for the island here, and we've got a bunch of animations in progress for our archer enemy type. So if you like what you see, please comment, like, subscribe, and most importantly of all now, wishlist the game, and then sit back and relax, because now it's time for me to talk some shit. On this week's segment of Talk Some Shit, I'm targeting a brand new YouTube channel that goes by the name of Red16 Interactive. So this guy pops up on my YouTube feed recently with a video titled, "I'm risking $800,000 on my dream game studio." Well, sir, you have my attention. And a few amusing things stuck out to me about this. First of all, this guy likes to run his mouth.
Imagine a world where the games you play aren't just mindless entertainment. What if I could create something better? Something more than just another repackaged sequel or a basic cash grab. I'm going to share with you the real reason why I believe the gaming industry is broken. I believe it's because they're solely built around making money first and foremost, before everything. Everything is slapped onto the monetization model. This industry has just slowly reversed the priority of over the years. Every single poster video is on the topic of making games is about money. Money, money, money. It permeates everything, like particularly in the indie scene.
Second, this guy likes to run his mouth.
But the underlying pervasive requirement of making money is just rampant in game design. Balance the risk that I was taking on with agility and decisiveness. Those are 2 skills that are sorely lacking in the video game industry today, for certain, especially the big players. None of them understood marketing, like none, or how to start or build or run a business or manage a team. Like literally none of them. And they also were just so all focused on money, everyone. And I get it, man. It's like, if you have a job you don't like and the dream is to develop games, it's like, well, I need money. And so I need a game that makes money and what's going to sell. And everyone's talking about money, money, money. And it's like, I got it, but you got to understand that's the curse. That's what flips things. So it's genuinely not just about money. You need it. It's really important, but it's a huge reason why this industry is struggling right now. Most people can't handle that, especially fragile creatives.
Third, he sounds like a YouTube guru type trying to sell me on his lifestyle courses.
So in about 30 seconds, I'm going to tell you of an idea that became a second calling for me. And in 60 seconds, I'm going to reveal how much it's actually going to cost. The handful of people that see this in the beginning, you are the people that will define our success. I'm prepared to lose. I'm willing to take the risk. And because of that, I think that's the reason why I can be so authentic and transparent and vulnerable. like all in a pursuit of a larger goal that other people, hopefully like yourself, can rally behind. This crazy adventure that we're both gonna embark on together is either gonna be the most costly lesson of my life or one of the greatest success stories in the industry. I don't know what your name is right now watching, but I'm about to lift the curtain completely. I want to pull you in and show you that we're not just another game studio. Let's make something amazing, and let's make it together.
And finally, he seems to have no actual experience or relevant skills in making games.
Oh, I always wanted to make a game, like the same way someone wants to write a book or a novel, but I didn't know how, obviously. Obviously, I did know I needed a programmer, but still, I had little idea of all the roles needed to make a game. So I had only learned of a game designer role or a game developer role, and I didn't really understand the difference between the two at the time. Nor did I understand core gameplay loops or the more technical aspects of it.
To be fair, none of this means that he'll fail. He obviously has the money and the business and marketing experience, and that alone could lead to success so long as he gets the right people. Either way, I'm watching this because it could be an interesting success story, or it could be a colossal fucking train wreck. Now, there's a lot I could say here. For example, I have a lot of thoughts about this trend of YouTubers who seem to think that video games are the one creative endeavor where you can pick it up without ever having done it before and expect the first thing you make to be a fucking Scorsese film. Or the fact that there's a billion other independent developers on YouTube doing the exact same thing he is. But I don't actually have a problem with any of that. I'm bringing this up because he crossed a line with me when he posted his last video, and after talking all this shit, he now hypocritically wants to lecture to us about how, hey guys, don't bring down other studios by being negative and talking shit. Instead, build something positive.
Scrolling through gaming feeds today, all you see is this. Studios are under fire. Companies are failing. You'd think the entire gaming industry is collapsing. But here's the truth. Tearing studios down is easy. It takes zero effort. It's almost instinctive to point out flaws. Like Kanye in Runaway. I'm so gifted at fighting at what I don't like the most. But that's not a superpower. It's a trap. And if you're only here to get swept up in the noise, then you're missing the real challenge, which is building something that matters. Most companies build in private because when you share what you build, especially before it's finished, people will happily. This is not a talent. Anyone can find a flaw in anything. Anyone can give you 100 ways that something sucks and why it'll fail. Like, it takes no effort and also no risk. So, scrolling through industry critic feeds feels a little dark right now, and a lot of channels are getting like those misery clicks on all their videos pronouncing Ubisoft is dead, Bethesda is over, EA fails again. So this kind of social media it's like an echo chamber. Like, there are so many videos out there that just trash games, right? Star Wars Outlaws, trash. Assassin's Creed Shadow, trash.
Six Samurai.
Trash.
He then goes on to read a quote to us from Teddy Roosevelt, underlining to us the world-changing magnitude of his video game project.
It's like, I don't know. Sometimes the people that are crazy enough to think they can actually change the world sometimes do. Our boy Teddy Roosevelt, who nailed this concept in 1910. It is not the critic who counts, not the man who points out how the strong man stumbles, or where the doer of deeds could have done them better. The credit belongs to the man who is actually in the arena, whose face is marred by dust and sweat and blood.
Ask not what video games can do for you. Ask what you can do for video games. To be fair, I can't be too hard on him. I too like to read cheesy motivational quotes from time to time. But personally, I think this guy's a little late on the trend of, does anybody else hate the game industry? But maybe not. Maybe I'm the fool here, and I have fallen for the tricks of a genius marketing mind. And he's thinking, well, this is gonna resonate with some people, and for everyone else, it's gonna piss them off. But either way, as long as it provokes them, it'll get them to engage with the video, and therefore increase my publicity, which is what really matters. In fact, he even makes references to people talking shit about him in his own videos, almost as if he's self-aware about it.
Have at it in the comments. Supporters, disbelievers, everyone in between. We do read all of them, and your feedback helps a ton. And like, this is not a flex, okay? Anyone can rip through the list I just shared. Anyone can tear us down or me down.
Now I'm going to be charitable here and assume that he is genuine and he is not cynically trying to bait people into engaging with his videos, since after all, that's the kind of unethical marketing practice that a greedy AAA video game company might partake in. He's mentioned many times in his videos as well as on his website that his game is going to be an earth-shattering revolution in the game industry.
And one genre that I really believe is key to be the next big gaming breakthrough, and how we're planning to actually make waves in an industry that's dominated by giants. Creative options for this game's premise were endless. We're not just another game studio. We are hopefully the future of storytelling in games. And that alone can separate us from almost every other AAA studio out there.
And naturally, some people have pointed out that other than some stuff about the game being about Little Red Riding Hood and fairy tales, he hasn't really said anything about what exactly this game actually is, or even shown any footage from it, but he promised he would. And in his last video, he delivered. When in the last few minutes of the video, he hits us with this.
We're building a single-player, third-person, narrative-driven, action-adventure game. It will not be a sprawling open world filled with predatory, dopamine-releasing game loops. This game will be fairly linear, but also thoughtfully crafted. We're also giving the players several ways to play through the game on their terms, so you get to play the way you want to. Items, upgrades, they're designed to feel meaningful, thoughtful, and earned from skilled gameplay.
Now, I have never ever seen a game like this before in my entire life, so I stand corrected and I take back everything I said. But in all seriousness, it's a great undertaking, and since he's not my direct competition, I wish him success. But he did say he wanted to be open and transparent and take on as much feedback as possible, so Red16 Interactive, if you ever see this, my humble feedback to you is a little less of this and a little more of this, you know what I'm saying? That's it for this week, guys. Thanks so much for watching. Please comment, like, subscribe, wishlist, and I'll see you here again next week. Peace.